In working with women and men in terms of breast cancer and adjusting to this, there's are a couple of themes that usually come up that frequently need to be confronted. The first thing I'm going to talk to you about is guilt. All right. Guilt is usually a feeling or an emotion that comes about when you feel as though you failed some type of obligation to somebody or something. Okay. Now, what types of things would cause a man to actually feel guilty when dealing with helping his wife face or significant other face breast cancer? Well, it's probably three different things. One, you can actually have guilt that you're actually healthy, that your partner is the one sick and you are healthy. Maybe, and that can get into a lot of things in terms of why was she the person chosen? Why am I actually healthy? You can actually have guilt in regards to the fact that you feel angry or you feel resentment at your partner for having cancer, that you have to actually deal with this. All right. And then the third thing is that you can actually feel guilty because you feel sad because you've actually lost something. Let's face it, cancer really affects your life like no other event can, and you've constructed a life, and up to that point in things may have been going according to plan, but then cancer forces you to reevaluate and to retool. So again, those ideas of guilt due to either life change or loss, guilt involving resentment, and also guilt in regards to the why my wife. Let's talk a little bit in regards to guilt in regards to loss. The first thing to acknowledge is that having sadness or loss around this is completely and totally normal. And that people don't give themselves enough credit. You have to accept that this is a big change. There is going to be loss. You're always going to be dealing with the fear of regret. For many women or whatnot, whether you've had women that are having mastectomy or things of that nature, there is going to be a loss of perhaps what you used to do to involve sexuality or intimacy. There is going to be a loss to, if you will, how you and your family go about your daily life. The key to facing that loss, if you will, is just to acknowledge it and to start to talk about it. Move on to the second thing that can cause guilt in men, if you will, and that is the why me question. Why not me? Actually, patients' husbands talk to me and say, my wife did everything correctly. I'm the person who eats awfully, smokes, does all of these things, yet she was the one who ended up with breast cancer. Why should I be the healthy one? That gets into a lot of different issues. But the one thing that I would say is that you should think about, why shouldn't you be healthy in support of your significant other? All right. Why that in terms of why shouldn't your wife have a healthy partner? All right. Frequently, for those that are married, when we take wedding vows, you think about taking somebody for sickness and in health. The conceptualization of that is that, well, if the other person is sick or whatnot, I have to accept them. But you can also reverse that. If you are sick, you also must accept your healthy partner. So with that being said, you both have in many ways vowed to be with each other, and you might want to reframe it instead of why me, why not me, why shouldn't I be in this position to be of support to address this challenge? All right. And then the third thing in regards to guilt, which I do think is relevant again, is this idea of resentment. And a lot of men cringe because they don't like to speak about it. But again, it's a natural and a normal response at times to feel anger about what it is that you're being forced to deal with, all right, in terms of that resentment. Your resentment or that anger really is not so much at your wife, but it's at the cancer, all right? And the fact that your wife is dealing with the cancer can cause that to come out. There are probably 6 things, if you will, or a couple things, or maybe 4 things, I would say, that to resent men when dealing with cancer. One is that you have to sacrifice more so than you ever thought you would. All right. Next thing is that you have a differing role. All right. All of us are entering into the role of the caregiver. All right. The next thing is that your spouse, because they're going as well as, all right, in the survivorship phase, they may not have the sexual interest, desire to be intimate with you in a way in which you're usually accustomed to. And then the fourth thing, if you will, is the high level of stress, just being the caregiver. So those things can create resentment. All right. Now, to addressing the guilt in regards to that, again, it goes back to what I said. It's normal. All right. It's normal to feel something. You don't want to block a feeling. But what you can do is address how you behave and act. All right. Focus on, you can feel something, and there's nothing, no feeling in and of itself is good or bad. It's what you do with it or not to do with it is what matters. So even if you're feeling that resentment, what that resentment is telling you is that this is a stressful situation. This is something where communication with your wife, and also possibly with others that you trust, can be helpful in terms of figuring out how you were going to tackle those problems. So again, it's not the emotion of resentment that's going to get you. It's when you start to avoid and back off because of it. So as long as you are being proactive and still being of support, the resentment will come as well as it will go. All right.